Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to SH Kelkar and Company Limited's earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Anup Pujari from CDR India. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on SH Kelkar and Company Limited's Q2 and H1 FY22 earnings conference call. We have with us Mr. Kedar Vaze, Full-time Director and Group CEO, Mr. Shrikant Mate, EVP, and Mr. Rohit Saraogi, EVP and Group CFO Designate of the company. We will begin the call with opening remarks from the management, following which we'll have the forum open for a question and answer session. Before we start, I would like to point out that some statements made in today's call may be forward-looking in nature, and a disclaimer to this effect has been included in the earnings presentation shared with you earlier. I would now like to invite Mr. Kedar Vaze to make his opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on our Q2 FY22 earnings call. Discuss the operating and financial performance for the quarter and the first half of this year. We have reported a steady performance in the first half of the fiscal. Our European business registered healthy growth on back of higher consumption and demand during this period. On the consolidated basis, our revenue from operations in H1 grew by 31% on a year-on-year basis and on a like-to-like basis of 15% year-on-year. H1 FY 2021 results included consolidation of CFS for only 2 months, August and September. So on a like-to-like basis, CFS's core fragrance business grew by 39% in H1, and it maintains a 2-year CAGR of more than 10%. The emerging market sales grew by 9% during the first half of the year. In the quarter, revenues from operations stood at 358.3 crore as against 351.9 crore for Q2 FY21. This muted performance was on back of a challenging macroeconomic witnessed in the emerging market and a higher base effect of the previous quarter, Q2 of last year. In the corresponding period last year, we had witnessed pent-up demand in various health and hygiene segments with new entrants in the category. This has subsequently come back to normal traction. In addition, Southeast Asia business was mostly impacted due to continued spread of COVID-19 and intermittent lockdown. Overall, emerging markets revenue stood at 276.1 crore as compared to 313.7 crore in Q2 FY 2021. On the raw materials front, we continue to witness cost pressure on account of global inflation in raw materials. Our inventory policy, better product mix, and our ability to pass on price increases helped us to minimize the impact on margins. Gross margins stood at around 41% in Q2 and H1 FY22. And EBITDA margins on a like-to-like basis, including other income, stood at 15.3 and 15.8 in Q2 and H1 respectively. EBITDA margin impact was also on account of lower revenues in the emerging market. In order to efficiently mitigate cost pressure and to normalize our operating margins, we are working with our customers to undertake further price hikes in the future. Overall, we are monitoring the raw material situation that has been evolving in the recent past. Our reported PAT in H1 has come at 103.5 crore with PAT margins at 14.4%. In this quarter, there was a one-time exceptional loss of 6.2 crore due to flood, wherein the Mahad facility operations were disturbed. An amount of equal amount is recoverable from the insurance company. Accordingly, the company is in process of filing business interruption claim in the coming quarter. However, for the Q2, this cost is being taken as exceptional cost. In Q1 FY22, that also included a reversal of additional tax provision aggregating to 64.5 crores consequent to the ITAT order. Adjusting for this, our PAT stood in H1 at 45.2 crores. In addition, we expect somewhere between 8 to 9 crores of insurance claim in the future quarters. With that, our PAT will be 54 crores for the first half of the year. From a consolidated balance sheet perspective, our net debt stood at 347 crores as of September 30th, 2021, compared with 334 crores as on June 30th, 2021. This increase in debt was primarily due to higher working capital on inventory in the current environment. In another development, the board at its meeting on Friday has approved the buyback of SHK's fully paid equity shares of face value 10 each at rupees 210 per equity share through a tender offer route. The total amount of buyback size will be a maximum of 60.9 crores. The company proposes to buy back 29 lakh shares at the offer price, representing 9.64 of standalone and 6.65 consolidated fully paid up equity share capital and free reserve as per March 31st, 2021. This signifies our confidence in both the balance sheet and our future cash flows over the medium to long term. The health and safety of our employees and community has been a key focus area for us. I'm pleased to share that all our employees and their families have been fully vaccinated. We had also extended the vaccination drive to employees, relatives, and secondary manpower and their relatives. Following this, we have fully resumed office from the 3rd of September onwards with all necessary safety protocols in place. To conclude, we are seeing recovery in the domestic macroeconomic environment. There are indications that consumption in the country will strengthen in the months ahead. With improving economic indicators in upcoming festive season, we are optimistic that the demand environment will pick up for the second half of this year. Overall, we are encouraged with the healthy client engagement and inquiries across emerging and European markets. Our focus remains on adapting and keeping paces with the changing and external environment. Looking forward, we will be undertaking efforts to grow and invest in the high potential emerging and European markets, which we believe will fuel our business momentum. In a normal demand environment, we are confident that our emphasis on growth to enable us to report healthy performance going forward. Before I close, I would like to once again thank Shrikant Mate for his contribution to the growth of SH Kelkar and wish him best in his retirement. The last couple of months, Rohit and Shrikant have worked closely to ensure a smooth transition. Rohit will formally take charge as the Group CFO with effect from 15th November 2021. With that, I now request the moderator to open the forum for any questions or suggestions that people would have.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star, then 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star, then 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask a question, please press star, then 1. The first question is from the line of Bhavesh Chauhan from IDBI Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Good morning. So would like to know about our margin performance. From last quarter, our margin have fallen from 20%, EBITDA margin from 20 to 15%, and we are seeing quite a bit rise in input cost, as I understand, across many industries. So going forward, what is our outlook on margin? Are we taking any pricing actions or something?
So thank you for this question. I think we are now looking at a scenario of pretty much like an hyperinflation on some of the commodities. We are working closely with our clients and looking at proper price hikes in the months to come. However, we will be in a better position to focus on absolute EBITDA and absolute margin rather than relative percentage margin, as the sales price will get distorted quarter on quarter in the upcoming 2-3 quarters. Given the situation, we will also be updating regularly post a couple of weeks when we have clarity on where the raw material pricing remains, how our pricing to the clients is shaping, and give regular updates on this aspect. I expect that the situation should be normal by end of the fiscal. So April or May, we will see the normalcy in terms of ratios. But till that time, in 2-3 quarters, we will require to focus mainly on the absolute margin and absolute profit without looking at the percentage on sales, as that number will get distorted.
Okay, sir, that's quite helpful. And secondly, sir, how is the demand environment currently, and are we seeing any new order backlog or new clients that we have added in the last 3 months or so?
So I think the demand environment is pretty normal at this point. In fact, it is quite healthy. Given the festival and the recovery post July, August, I think from September second half we've seen good recovery in the demand. Obviously, the demand recovery is one side of the story, and we are now looking at the raw material situation that we balance the growth in the margin profile.
Okay, sir. So lastly, I would like to ask management on their views on capital allocation. Sir, we have some debt in our books, and then we are going for a buyback, and also there could be opportunities for inorganic growth. So by doing a buyback, are we saying that we are not going to repay off debt in a very meaningful way, and also there are no further inorganic growth strategy that company is looking for?
So there is a couple of points. One is that last year onwards we have been maintaining very low ratio of profit distribution given the uncertainty around the pandemic. We are now looking at the post-pandemic situation in Europe, and we expect that in various parts of the world, and this is anybody's guess. Your guess is as good as mine. So we are now proposing and planning on the basis that we are in a post-pandemic situation and there is no extra need to conserve cash. We don't see any effect of complete stoppage of business happening. So we are now restoring back our confidence in the cash flows and distributing the profit as per the profit distribution policy. In addition, we have had a one-time gain of 64 odd crores in the first quarter as a result of a tax refund. So this is a pass-through to the shareholders that the buyback proposes to do. On the debt side, most of the debt in terms of the quantum is in Europe acquisition and Europe working capital in either euro or US dollar, and the interest rate continues to be a very low interest rates. So we are comfortable to maintain the current debt level and continue to grow the business from here on. It doesn't make very big sense to reduce the debt in the European markets where the debt interest rates are very low.
Yeah. So that's quite helpful. The last question from my side: what is the sales growth that we would be looking forward to in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years?
So we are committed to 12% CAGR growth. I don't see anything has changed there on the business in the long term. We will not have, we obviously will have quarter on quarter ups and downs due to environment scenario of force majeures or different kind of environmental factors, economic factors. But we are committed and we continue to look at 12% CAGR growth in the mid to long term.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Viraj from Securities Investment Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Thanks for the opportunity. I just have 2 questions. One is on the RM side.
Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. So your voice is not very clear.
Is it better now?
It's not loud. It's very soft.
Yeah, is it better now?
Yes, a little better.
Yeah, my question is largely on the RM side. So if you can just give some perspective in terms of, the RM inflation which we are seeing, what kind of further inflation we expect. So, in Q2 we would have taken some price increase and, and coming into the October, November, have you taken any further price increase which covers the inflation? I mean, asking this because, if we look at our competition, especially the MNC players in the industry in India, they have started this whole policy of surcharge to account for freight and exception RM inflation, and that's been going on for last 1 or 2 quarters. So for us, where are we positioned at, in terms of a pass-through of raw material inflation? So that is one. And second is on the Mahad claim. We have been having this kind of problem repeatedly for, last few years. So any thought on, supply chain diversification, just to mitigate, this risk in the future?
Yeah, so I think I can answer both the questions. On the raw material inflation, we are working with our clients on an ongoing basis. So there is no specific event-based or one. We continuously have a dialogue around the price and cost inflation. I think in the events leading up to the last week of September, in China, there was further force measures declared because of the energy crisis and the closure of the coal power plants. Subsequent to that, we have witnessed another round of, I would say, hyperinflation or stockouts and situation accordingly. Our inventory policy maintaining high enough levels, we are quite well covered into the next couple of quarters, and we will look at gradual phased manner price increases to our clients so that we balance the recovery in growth with the price inflation, and we don't want to end up with a situation where the price inflation stops the volume growth recovery. So that fine balance between the raw material price, selling price increase and continued volume momentum, we will navigate that environment. Having said that, we are of the scenario on the raw material with our contracts and our inventory policy, so we will be better placed to this couple of quarters to manage this. Coming to your question on Mahad, we have actually a plant in China which we had bought, which is a sort of a BCP for the Mahad plant. So we have 2 plants manufacturing more or less the same products. And in this lockout period or stoppage period due to the floods, we have ramped up our capacity in China and we have produced additional materials to balance the shortfall that we faced. As of now, we have not lost any business as a result of the Mahad flood. The only issue there is that the costs which were incurred in this period and are not represented or reflected in the books of accounts till we have a confirmation from the insurance claim. So that part should also be coming in the quarters ahead.
Okay. So on the RM inflation side again, I mean, just from an approach point of view, would the approach largely be on getting more volume, I mean, and not be that aggressive in terms of pricing, or, we kind of having a more balance?
I think we will work with the clients one-to-one. There are obviously pressures across the board, so we will work with our clients and we are confident to pass on the cost increases as it's a flow through. And we will be selective and we will manage that we don't dampen our growth and future prospects. So we will ensure that we get into the next years with good momentum on the business growth. At the same time, we will enable sufficient price increases to cover for our costs.
Okay, fine. Thank you. I'll come back in queue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So the first question is on CFF. So the performance has been decent and margins have been in the range of EBITDA margins about 11-12%. We had indicated earlier when we acquired the company that since it is into premium category of products, we may look at expanding the product basket from Europe to some of the Asian countries. Any thought on this that we will be doing it? I mean, obviously, during the interim period, the pandemic has caused issues, but any strategy on this front? Thank you.
So we continue to get the development work on both sides, so within India and Europe, and in fact within Asia with our centers in Singapore and Jakarta, and they work together. We are at this moment not really pushing synergies because each business is faced with their local issues and the pandemic and workforce coming to office at various times. But once there is a normal travel and everyone is working in the office, we will further look at cost optimization and using libraries across various development centers to bring down the cost per, I would say, R&D cost per development cost per revenue optimization on the overall sales. I think as a result of the pandemic, also the gap between the markets in Europe and particularly Asia has increased. I expect that we will see a slow recovery from economic activity and higher premiumization, which was the trend previously. The couple of years of pandemic will put a sort of slow recovery phase, and by the time the recovery is in normal economic cycle, we will have our product range ready in Italy for the launching into Asia.
Right, that's helpful. So if you could just provide some understanding on how the recovery is happening across the user segments like fine fragrances, personal care, home care, and just to give an understanding how much we have reached in terms of pre-pandemic levels across these segments, that will be helpful. Thank you.
So I think the part of the business across all sectors has improved. In the first half, I would say May, June, July, sort of these were the peak decline months where a lot of the fine fragrance, deos, these kind of products saw, I would say, half of normal volume. Subsequently, August and September, they have restored and resumed their business. We have also seen across May, June, July decline in the small scale. Just a sec. Decline in the small scale business, and that has also subsequently revived.
Okay, that's helpful. And now we are halfway through the year. Would you like to give any guidance for FY22?
I think our guidance remains the same. We have talked about a 12% CAGR in the year on year. I think we are quite confident to achieve that. Initially, last year we had also guided for a jump back on the first half, since last year first half was muted. Unfortunately, this year first half was also affected by the same pandemic related issues. So we are confident of a 12% CAGR over last year, and then look at continuing growth from there on. In the emerging markets, the base business, the European business has been clocking 12% CAGR over the last 2 years, and we expect that to continue. In the overall picture, I think we will also need to optimize some of the sales based on the margin and raw material inflation. So on a longer term, we are confident to do the 12% plus growth rates. The margin percentages will be something which will see a dip, and we will need to take a certain strategic hit in the margin in this quarter given the hyperinflation. But we will be able to restore that back to a long-term 40 to 43% gross margin and continued growth.
All right, sir. Thanks for all the answers. Best of luck and Diwali wishes.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhaval Shah from Swan Investments. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. So just one clarification I wanted on the inventory side. You mentioned we are covered. We are covered for next 2 quarters in terms of the pricing. Did I understand correctly?
No, in terms of raw material availability, pricing remains a challenge. The cost pressures are definitely there. But in terms of supply situation, we are well covered for the next 2 quarters.
Okay.
We hope that the supply situation should restore sometime in this period, and then we will update you from time to time if we see any change.
Okay. So you meant you are covered in terms of volume availability and the pricing remains open.
Yes, the pricing also we have covered our material. The price inflation we will work out and pass on to our clients.
Okay. And when you mentioned about maintaining the absolute EBITDA and not the percentage, historically, how have you worked around? Largely, I've been working on the percentage terms. Then, what sort of renegotiation you would have in terms of in terms of the
so as a very basic situation, if my selling price was 100 rupees and 50 was my COGS and 50 has become 60, I don't see any way that we will be able to pass on more than the cost pass through in such a quick turnaround situation. So we will be able to pass on the 10% inflation or 12% inflation on the top line to our clients. Plus, we will have to look at the product mix and make proper use of the available raw material and improve the overall EBITDA margin. So effectively, the control. Also, there will be cost control which we need to do. And effectively, the idea is to maximize absolute margin in line with what was the original budgeted numbers. The top line will get distorted on account of the inflated selling price, but that we will pass through cost increase to the clients.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, sir. Got it.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nikhil from SIMPL. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity. Am I audible? Hello?
Yeah.
Just 2 questions on the comments you made during the call. In one of the earlier questions, you mentioned that we would be looking at a growth in next year. But subsequently, you mentioned we've been having a 12% CAGR growth. For this year, considering the weak first half, do you think that 12% CAGR growth is still possible for this year, or do you think it's more the growth options are more from next year onwards only? Just to understand it.
So if you look at the first half with the emerging markets, India situation being muted, we have still done a 15% growth on a like-to-like basis, including Europe and so kind of emerging and the European markets. So we are confident to continue that track. We also see demand revival in the emerging markets. So I don't see a big challenge to maintain the 12% growth, although the first half has been muted. I see this as very similar to last year. We had seen a big jump back in the second half. So on the growth, I am not seeing a big challenge. It's a question of maintaining and managing the gross margin percentage and the absolute gross margin, which will be a challenge as the cost increase has been very steep in the last few weeks.
Okay. Second question, sir. You mentioned in the call and also in the presentation, the emerging markets are weak. And if I go back to our 2 to 3 years back calls, we had like 3 eyes as the key market. So which was India, Indonesia, and Italy. Is it like the Indonesia market, because of COVID, has been disrupted significantly, and that is why the growth in this quarter has been slow? Or is it like this is across India, Indonesia, all of the markets have seen a major disruption?
So we have clearly seen the sort of pandemic and post-pandemic scenario. So in Europe and Middle East, where the vaccination drive was earlier than in the emerging markets like India and Indonesia, we have seen the recovery phase already started. So we know that we can expect the similar thing in India, Indonesia, and these emerging markets in post-pandemic scenario, which is at this moment. We will remain cautious because the pandemic scenario is always news and it varies. So our business plans will maintain the agility in terms of able to react to any situation that may emerge. But we are going on this basis of a post-pandemic scenario and restored growth coming back in the emerging markets. India, for sure, we are already seeing the momentum. For the Indonesia, which is our third eye, the pandemic situation in Southeast Asia in general is still a bit more difficult than in India, and it will take more time to play out. But I strongly think that by end of the year, we will see the emerging market on Indonesia, Southeast Asia business also recover.
And sir, just one thing, Southeast Asia would be contributing what percentage of our revenue? Approximate?
7 to 10% of it on the fragrances and overall 5% of the total.
Okay. And lastly, you mentioned in Mahad there was a cost which we have booked in P&L. What was the quantum which we have booked?
So we have booked 6.2 crores as an exceptional cost in the P&L this quarter.
Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anuj Sharma from M3 Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. Kedar, if 2-3 years ago, you had made a reference that the cost increase or the raw material escalation was maybe sort of once in a Six Sigma event or maybe once in a century event. If you draw parallels to that raw material escalation and currently, what is the parallel? And is it a more broad-based escalation, or it's driven by few cost elements, few materials?
No, so a few years ago when we had a force majeure scenario in our industry, it was very much industry specific, very large inflation that was related to, I would say, 50-60% of our raw materials. At the moment, what we are seeing in terms of raw material inflation is a broad-based inflation in commodities, specialty chemicals, naturals. Basically, it's an average increase of inflation. It has been sort of rebound after the pandemic with the demand going up, supply remaining muted, plus added layer of disturbance on logistics, containers, availability, cost of freight, cost of fuel, and the latest events in China leading to further short supply. So in total, this is the inflation which the clients are also facing, and everybody is aware. So for us to get the price increases with the clients, it's relatively easy. It's a relatively pan-industry broad inflation and not specific to our industry.
All right, that's helpful. And just one more reference, if I go back, our gross margin had shrunk to approximately 40-42%. When we compare it now and when you're seeing the next 2-3 quarters, do we think, while you said we are focusing on absolute, do you think we can touch back those numbers in terms of gross margin? Thank you.
So when you look at the 41-42%, we have some level of inflation inside. Plus, we have the effect of our Mahad plant closure. So we needed to buy some raw material and maintain our contracts, and at a low margin, we were able to continue to supply our customers. So this is a muted largely on account of the Mahad situation. But if I take Mahad recovery in terms of a normal, if I account for basically all the insurance claims, then it would be in excess of 42% in this quarter. And it's in line with our long-term expectation. We also see the product mix scenario with the pandemic and affecting more of the high-value, small-volume products than the lower gross margin, bigger volume products. So the product mix plus Mahad is accounting for a slight decline in the gross margin. Going forward, I think we are still on a strong base of 43% gross margin if I look at the actual product mix that we expect to sell now. That 43 is the starting point, and we will have to overlay the cost inflation from the raw material and selling price recovery that we are able to make with our discussions with the clients.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rajesh Kumar from a shareholder. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, please go on.
My question is, we have won an order for a home care brand of one of the MNCs at India. So congratulations on that. I just wanted to know, is this the beginning of winning few more orders from the MNCs? And second is, how big is this order?
Yeah, so this is obviously a beginning of our long-term strategy, where we have been focusing on new molecules and making development and research ahead of what we require. So it's a good sign that we have one opening, and we will grow from here. This specific product will be anywhere between 25 to 30 crore annual revenue. And we hope to get additional more businesses in line with this long-term strategy. As we have discussed in the past, within particularly the India market, our market share in the non-global MNC is quite high, and the global MNC brands, which account for almost 40% of the India fragrance market, is our target for getting additional sort of incremental fast growth.
Okay, very good to know that, sir. So, my second question is, paint industry is doing extremely well in spite of COVID pandemic. 2 years back, I think our products were approved by one of the leading paint manufacturers. So what is the latest update on this, and did we receive any order from them?
Yeah, so the industrials, as we call it, not specific only paint, but there are paint, textiles, varnish, a lot of companies in that industrial belt. So industrial products has already, we are seeing almost 100% growth in these areas over the last couple of years. So it is doing well. We will continue to see growth in those areas.
Okay. So is this industrial products which you are mentioning, does it include the industrial fragrances which we had which we had launched a year back, including Kiva, Roll-Ons and...
When I'm talking industrial products, it is fragrance sales to the industrial products. So these are not typically classified as FMCG products. It's not your soap and detergent or this. So anything which is textiles, paints, housing, wood, varnish, lot of things that are used in the household but are not typically FMCG products. They are replacement products or sort of capital goods, white goods. That market, we are seeing good growth, 50% plus growth year on year. And that's a nascent market, so we see a good runway for that market in the next few years as well.
So how much percentage does it contribute to the overall revenues, this industrial segment?
At the moment, it is small. It's in sort of 10 crore ballpark, but we see that this is only, I would say, 1% or 2% of the total potential of this market. So as the market is very large, we are seeing this will be sort of a growth area for us.
So when you say this, 50% growth year on year, so does it include that means we have received the order from these paint companies also?
Yeah, we are supplying from last year, and that orders have doubled since last year. So it's a big growth over last year, and we will see this growth being there continuously.
Sir, my last question is, what is the status on the fragrance encapsulation technology? I think we had taken some trials a year back. So anything, any latest update on that?
So we are also on the encapsulation. We have expanded part of our capacity. We are doing well. We are also looking at first initial leads at European market for exporting these encaps, and also in Middle East. So the initial trials and feedback from the clients is good. Again, it's a scaling up business, so it's quite small at the moment, and we will continue to grow that as we go ahead.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Viraj from Securities Investment Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Just two questions. First is, I just want to understand if you can comment, how are you seeing trends in the fine fragrance space, especially in the under CFF or in the European business. Any color you can provide on that?
The fine fragrance business last year was very muted. This year it has been, it has picked up for us quite well. Although overall fine fragrances globally remains weak, and it's expected to turn around this quarter once it's sort of a post-pandemic demand. Our fine fragrance business is largely focused on the new brands and new entrants into fine fragrances, and we are doing good amount of business wins. As the fine fragrance is an extremely fragmented market, it takes a few years for any meaningful volume growth. But we have good amount of wins, and our business traction we are quite happy with the development and funnel and business traction in the fine fragrance business.
So for us, for CFF, how much would be for fine fragrance? Would it be like 5%, 10% of their base, or?
No, today it is smaller than 5%. It is 2 to 3% of the total business. But it's completely new activity which has sort of started 2-3 years ago, and it will ramp up. Our long-term objective is to make 20% of our European business in fine fragrances, which is a healthy ratio for the volume and margin business. Most of the global MNC businesses have roughly 25% of their fragrance business as fine fragrances. And our objective is to increase this 3% to roughly 20% while continuing to grow the overall pie.
Okay. Second question is, so you said that we have a good amount of visibility in terms of growth, and hence we kind of went in for the buyback option as well. But if I have to look at for next 2-3 years, given that we are still kind of quite very strongly positive on growth and margin recovery, would this be more like a regular feature in terms of buyback? So I'm just trying to understand between buyback and repayment of debt. What is how we?
So we are committed to our distribution policy, profit distribution policy of 30 to 40% per annum. We will look at both measures, dividend, buyback, and any other shareholder distribution method that from time to time what makes sense in terms of taxation, in terms of shareholder value. We also believe that buyback gives a better representation and a better value for longer term shareholders than dividend, where effectively people can own the share for one day and get a dividend rather than having to own it for a bit longer. And we are committed to the profit distribution policy which we have announced between 30 and 40% of the PAT that we generate.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Bhavya S., an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. So my first question is, during the GST implementation, you had alluded that small businesses are also forming a part of our business, and they face demand and GST-led issues, and a lot of businesses closed down too. So right now, currently, are we seeing small businesses form a part of our revenue, and how are they growing?
So about 10% of our domestic business is in small customers, and they continue to maintain their business. We have seen, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of churn post GST demonetization, and the nature of or number of customers that have degrown or consolidated at the marketplace. Today we have roughly 10% of our customers and sales in the small market. It's a market which is quite robust. However, it is the sales are disproportionately affected when there is a lockdown or a pandemic closure, because the customer set that they address is mostly in the bazaar. So the small shops and the bazaar market, if it is closed on account of lockdown, they see immediate slowdown. They are not really represented in retail, modern trade, or home delivery brands as much. So this is a net effect. When the pandemic lockdowns happen, this 10% business has a very acute slowdown. But we expect this business to bounce back. There is also pent-up demand from the consumers to buy these products.
Okay, thank you, sir. So my second question and last question is, can you throw some light on the Ayush front? Last call you had alluded that it's a robust and growing market, and currently are we seeing the same trend? I know it's only 3 months apart, but is there any update, and can you throw some light on the same?
Yes, so our wellness ingredients part of the business is also doing well. Our research in that has created a couple of new products. Again, it's a nascent market. The market is very big. We are coming in late in this market, but we want to be product differentiated by science, because these natural extracts, there's a lot of players, but with any undifferentiated product mix. So our approach has been to apply scientific principles and our science knowledge to these extracts with the quantification and the exact active ingredient definition. This market is nascent, but we see that this market again gives us a leg for large growth in the future. But it will take 2-3 years of product maturation and building the product range to then go into this market.
So just a follow-up on that, how much currently would it be contributing, and what do we tend to take it towards? Or is it?
It's small. It's around the 5 crore range per annum this fiscal, but that has good traction, and we are in discussion with some large MNCs as well as local players. So it's a new area of allied line for us, and it will take some time before the business is meaningful. In terms of growth rates, it will grow fast, but in terms of the overall numbers, we will still be in the 10-20 crore range for a few years.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, and all the best.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Thank you. I hope we have been able to answer all your questions satisfactorily. Should you need any further clarifications, would like to know more about the company, please feel free to contact our team or CPR. Before I end, I wish you all a happy Diwali, and thank you for your time to join us on this call.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of SH Kelkar and Company Limited, that concludes this conference. We thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.